Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Rex and I'm a first year medical student from UM. In today's video, I would just like to share with you guys about what my study plans are going to be for my final exam, which is about 50 days from now. It is a lot of time, but I know that I need to start studying smart. I've taken the liberty to come up with a few study strategies that I will be using myself, and I thought it would be helpful that I share it out with you guys as well. So if you do like any of the tips that I mentioned, do let me know in the comment section down below which one did you like, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel as well. Without further ado, let's begin. Alright, so the first tip that I'm going to start doing is to begin my past year papers now. I feel that there's a lot more benefits of doing your past year papers as early as possible rather than doing them last minute, and there's mainly of two reasons. So the first reason being that I get to identify what my weak points are at a much earlier state and I have more time to work on them. The second reason is because when it comes to content skimming, I would exactly know what type of questions that they would ask in the exam, so I can direct my attention towards specific parts of the lectures instead of mindlessly reading every single detail from the textbook. So for example, let's say I'm fairly weak in the anatomy of the head, I would know that I need to spend much more time focusing on this. On top of that, I would also know that they would probably ask about the clinical significance in relation to the anatomy. So for example, a question they might ask in the exam would be, what cranial nerve would be most commonly injured if the temporal bone was injured? And I think the answer is the facial nerve. Correct me if I'm wrong. But you get what I mean. Basically, overall it saves you a lot of time, but it still helps you to understand the main concept of the lecture. Moving on to the second tip, which is to use Anki and Passmedicine. I mainly use Anki for anatomy, histology, or anything related to spotting pictures, whereas I use a website called Passmedicine for practice questions. And I'll leave the links down in the description so you guys can check it out as well. Now, one of the biggest issues for me using Anki is basically I have to create my own decks of cards, which is very time consuming, and I have heard a lot of the same things from my friends and they ended up not using it at all. However, lucky for you, you don't have to worry about this because I found that my lovely seniors from med school have compiled a super awesome Anki anatomy deck that has hundreds of ready-made questions all the way from the anatomy of the head to the lower limb, and you can get them in the description below as well. Knock yourself out there, guys. Whereas for Passmedicine, this is also such a great website because not only you have access to thousands of questions that you don't have to worry about running out of questions to do, you would also get detailed explanations for every questions you answer. On top of that, you would also get article links, you also get diagrams as well as videos to help you with your understanding. So there's basically no reason for you not to use this wonderful website and to include it into your arsenal and your study strategies. Right, so the third tip is to not miss out on any lecture notes as well. Now you guys know that I have a love-hate relationship with my lecture notes because there's just so many information to memorize. However, there's this concept called the Pareto principle of the 80-20 rule, which I think you guys might have heard of, which basically means that 80% of the results come from 20% of the work that you put in. I know that it sounds a bit too good to be true, but the difficult part is to identify which 20% of the work that you put in will contribute to the 80% of the results. And here is basically what I would do. For me, here's how I do it with my lecture notes. First of all, I would skim through the topic with an objective in mind. Secondly, I would identify what would be important and what would be good to know. Thirdly, I would then write down any unfamiliar topics or concepts that I do not know. And last but not least, I would then spend time on these unfamiliar topics by researching about them. Now I know that this sounds a bit too easy, but I've been doing this for quite some time and I personally find it to be helpful that I'm looking at the big picture rather than just scoping down on every single detail of the textbook. Alright, so we've moved on to the fourth and final tip, which is to do it with friends. Now, why I would say that studying as a group is very useful is because number one, it really helps with memory retention, and also it helps to solidify your understanding as you are explaining a certain concept to a friend. Now this technique is actually called the Feynman technique. You are supposed to explain a specific concept to a friend in the simplest way possible, and let's say he or she understands what you're trying to convey, then congratulations, because you know what you're talking about, and technically you can do it to a 5-year-old as well. Alright, let's summarize what we have gone through in this video today. So first things first is to practice, practice and practice. There's no better time other than now to start doing your practice questions. The more mistakes you make at this point, the faster you learn. The second tip is to use technology to your advantage, and I recommend using Anki and Passmedicine, and you can get them in the description down below. Third tip is to use your lecture notes and your lecture videos wisely, because sometimes they contain the most valuable hints for your exam questions. And last but not least, let's say if you're feeling lonely of doing these questions alone, you can always do it with a group of friends to spice your learning experience. So okay guys, that's basically it for this video, and I really hope you guys enjoyed it and learned something out from it as well. If you do like any of the tips that I mentioned in this video, do let me know in the comments which one did you prefer, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel as well. Till then, I hope everyone stays safe and take care. I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.